Gritando louder, gritando power. Creators of different nations, sooner than later, open hours. I keep an eye out for the numbers, I stay in constant synchronization. So infinity, even beyond it, I am a common of destination. A lot of things I am a common, there are a lot of things that are above me. Do not talk about me for that nonsense, that I can scare me, that I can love me, yeah. Ain't no problem, a number, equation, present, loaded, observation. I'm not moving, remote creation, coming, finding, sending, location. We are on the holy tablets today. Started off with the holy tablets today. Catch up. Hangman. Stepping back to go forward. I am your reader. You're listening to the voice of Shams's Rafanka Tune, the mistress of Atune, aka Shavanda. In honor of the Grand Master, Holy Teacher, Malachi, New York. The Making of a New Race, page 284. In order to breed a being with a balanced nature, the scientists saw that the Homo erectus needed intelligence and sense. By using the blood of the sixth ether, Homo erectus, along with the blood of the ninth ether, Anunnaki, because it was Enki's idea to make these new beings to work in the miners, it was suggested that his wife, the scientist Enki, use her body. Page 285, figure 87, the family of Deros. Page 286, figure 88, Sinclair, the chief of the Duwani tribe. Page 287, figure 89, Lamasa, the chieftain of the Teros. Page 288, figure 90, Haatif, the husband of Wadiah. Page 289, figure 91, Wadiah, daughter of Farouk. Page 290, figure 92, Farouk, the leader of the Danamskiel tribe and brother of Yishkar. Page 291, figure 93, the Lucinas of the Tero tribe and the mother of Yakub. Page 292, figure 94, Amos of the Danakali tribe and brother of Farouk and Yashkar. Page 295, figure 97, the Ashad
of the Dunakael tribe and brother of Farouk and Yishkak. Page 296, figure 98. Tunde of the Dunakali tribe and brother of Farouk and Yishkar. Page 297, figure 99. The Yishkar of the Nakali tribe. He is the twin brother of Farkur and the father of Yakub. Figure 100. Joseph Smith. Page 298. Figure 299. Page 299. Figure 104. Hafiz, son of Horus. Figure 102. Page 300. MSD Horus of Sun. Page 300. MSD 100 Horus, son of Horus. Page 301. Figure 303. Quadbeson Neph, son of Horus. Figure 104. Down Lutef, son of Horus. Page 303, figure 105, eagle called Kawahu. Page 304, the Cochina Dao, figure 106. Page 105, the moon deity Alat, figure 107. Page 306, figure 108, the deity El Uzua. Page 307, figure 109, the deity Mana'at. Page 308, figure 110, Creole, leader of the Romardians. High Priestess is ready to read. As a part of the experiment to create what is called Homo sapien, after Homo erectus was bred, the next step was to breed him into a Homo sapien or a human being. The Anunnaki who came from the skies were able to produce the Homo sapien, which was made. These Homo sapiens, one half human and one half Anunnaki. These Anunnakis were agreeable and disagreeable, and the Homo sapien was created after the likeness of the Anunnaki, called Yahwehians. Yah meaning agreeable, and Way meaning disagreeable. The scientists saw that they had to give the Homo erectus intelligence and common sense in order for them to survive in their absence. So the seed was planted inside of Ninki, who was the wife of Enki. She gave birth to Lulu, Amelu, called the primitive worker, and her child was the first hybrid able to procreate. This experiment took place in the laboratory called SHIMTI, which is located in the mothership called Nibiru, that which crosses the skies. This lab was placed on the planet Lamu, Mars. The Kishites and the Havilites complied to the request of the scientists. They were called El Amun Bul El Wahidat, the faithful one. The Kishites and the Havilites were a mixture of the supernatural beings that existed in the river Nile of the barren and rocky land of Nubia, a desert region and ancient kingdom in the Nile River valley of southern Egypt and northern Sudan. And they were associated with goodness and benevolence only. These beings were known amongst the Nubian tribe as Al-Bahar Malukat, the river angels. They are known today as the little beings, as Rumardians. They stand 4 feet tall and weigh about 40 pounds, having 5 fingers. Originally bred by the Anunnaki to scout the world for them, they are benevolent. They are not to be mistaken with the Markabians, called Greys, who are malevolent. The Maccabians are a biogenetic breed from the cow and other species here on Earth, as well as mechanical and computerized technologies. Their skin colors are grayish blue and the texture is smooth. They have no hair on their body and they have big heads. They are hydrocephalic because their eyes, which have no pupils making them nocturnal, they look like a human insect, and they are sensitive to ultraviolet light. Their large black eyes are cow's eyes. They have 2 slits for nostrils, and their mouth is a small slit. They appear to have no ears, and their hands are web-like, with only 4 fingers. Their arms are long and muscular, reaching just above their knees. Their hands consist of 4 webbed fingers. Their torso is human in appearance. Their legs are short and muscular. They have no reproductive organs or reproductive capabilities. They are bred by the cloning process, and oftentimes they abduct human women only to remove the fetus, the breed, to breed their own species. They are called Rumardians, or Maylet-Al-Bahar. Thousands of years ago, when the Maylet-Al-Bahar, created, also known as the Rumardins, the little beings were released off the work of the Anunnaki, the reptilian captured them and ruled them. This is how the Maccabeans were bred. They used the cow's nervous system to breed them. They messed up their reproductive system by mixing them with cows. This is why the Hindus of today worship the cow. And in the Muslim world, the largest surah is their holy book, the Quran. Is entitled Surat al-Baqarah, the degree of the cow, or heifer, and the snake. Their feet are like that of a dinosaur or frog. The Ramardians live in underwater castles in the river. They were both males and females. The females were the Banat al-Salibin, daughters of the virtuous or pious, and the males were called Wal al-Salim, son of the virtuous or pious. They were associated with four categories of human preoccupation: fertility, cultivation, marriage, and health. These beings mixed in with the original Kishites and the Havilites, along with the Ket al-Bahar, and there were the Dogri or Dograi, who were the ugly water beings. They are known today as reptilians. They came from one of the stars in the constellations of Orion. They stood 6 to 7 feet tall. They are greenish, and their skin is scaly, waterproof, and there are no sweat glands. They have no hair on their body. The back of their head is flat, and they have an exaggerated forehead. Their face looks like a lizard, but somewhat human. Their eyes are cat-like and large, jaundiced yellow. They have gulls like the rest of the reptilians. Their mouth is wide, having no teeth. Their jaw is wide in relation to human proportion. Their arms are long and thin, just reaching above the knees. Their hands are webbed to the tips, consisting of only 3 fingers with an opposing thumb. Their chest slightly protrudes. Their legs are long, but bent backwards as if they also run on all 4. They have no external sex organs, and their feet are webbed. They procreate by laying eggs. They are neutral gender, with thousands of years of contact and abductions. These entities have succeeded in creating synthetic DNAs and RNAs. They have become masters of cloning and genetic splicing. Yet all this is done out of the governing hands of reptilians, who have ruled these beings for many years, thousands of years, and have made themselves the dependents upon which these beings depend. There are over 70 different species of what's called greys and 16 species of reptilians who either visit or have made permanent residence in this planet Earth. The takeover is inevitable unless you unite. Once the delegation had convinced the two great rulers of the Fathites and of the Atumites to procreate, speaking to them on behalf of the Anunnaki, they moved them to the holy place Nippur in Gadush. The genetic breeding took place in Gadush. Once the male child was born to Atum and Lilith, the rulers of the Antumites tribe named him Kadmon, meaning up front, and Zakar, rememberer, also called Adam, the father of the Adamites, the earthling of the reddish brown ground. 3 years after that, the female child was born to Ptah and Anav, the rulers of the Ptahite tribe. She was named Nekeba, meaning tribal leader, and she was to be called Hawa, mother of all these new things, new living beings, who would now be able to have children. The Adamites were created to being successors over the others that were cloned over a 600-year period. It took 400 years for the breeding, 4 generations in all for the cloning and genetic splicing. That's 10 people per 100 years, which comes out to 40 people over a period of 400 years. 100 years before the 400 years for the preparation, that is the collecting of the choice species for breeding and the building of the earth-based laboratories. It took another 100 years for civilization and education after they had bred them. The Kuthites were then sent out of the land of Gadush to return to their own part of the planet. Earth, Swadah, the outer field to the east, the wicked town of Nod, which was now ruled by Enlil after the dethroning of his brother Enki, who set up the wicked city of Nod. Yet he, Enlil, never sat on his brother's evil throne, and Atum became the Khalifa of Enki, and Dina, known as Ishtar, was the female deity with her son Tammuz in her arms as Ishkar, which means mountainous, far mountain land, whose title was Belial, Master Lord. He was also called Adar, beloved, and he was called Teshub by the Greeks, meaning storm deity. Yet all of them feared Anu, Elohim, Elohim, El. This Anu, Elohim, Elohim, Yin, El created Shakar, and the symbolic meaning of his name is the dawn, and Shalom. Symbolic meaning of his name is the dusk, or evening, and morning, or the son of justice, who controls what's called time on this planet Earth. The Sakar gave birth to Ha'el, and this Shalem gave birth to Warlock. Also, Anu, Elohim, Elohim, El, created in the seed of Enil one named Belial, who was also called Hadad or Adad, who gave birth to a son whom they called Elohim, to rebel later and is worshipped as El by the Canaanites, who fathered the religions called Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. This is the El of Judaism, the El of Christianity, and the Allah of Islam. Ahad also had a brother, Yam, and another, Mot, and a sister named Anat, who was not to be mixed up with Udum, daughter in Gadush, where Anu, Elohim, Elohim, El is really loved and respected, and the Anunnaki family of Udum, and his mate Mami just had a daughter, Anat, who were of the Muslim or the agreeable Elohim living in the part of the planet Earth called Mu, which was still then in the Holy Land called Kadush. This family was the Tuween in rare Nakaba, also called Hawa and Eve, until the age of 18. Then she was to breed with Kadmon or Adam. Tablet 5. The Doggone and the Serious Mystery. Lo, as mentioned, these extraterrestrials have come to this planet, and set up amongst humans as well as humankind. Earth has benevolent and malevolent influences. In Nubia, that is called Ganawa today, is a land referred to as Mali, whose inhabitants moved from the land of Kemet in Kush. You find one such influence. This is the Dogon. The Imams had an astonishing knowledge of the star Sirius and the Canis Major constellation given by extraterrestrials long before they migrated to Mali. While yet living in Tamara, Kemet, called Egypt, where the ritual of the opening of the mouth ceremony is centered around the Sirius star in the Canis Major constellation. Then knew that Sirius A, which is the brightest star in the sky, has a satellite called Sirius B, which revolves around it. Sirius B is invisible to the naked eye, and the doggone imams had no telescopes, but they knew that it exists and that its orbit around Sirius A is elliptical, not circular. They knew the position of Sirius A within the orbit and that the orbit takes 50 years. Sirius B was not discovered in the year by way of telescope until 1862 AD and was not photographed until 1970 AD. The ancient Egyptians had an advanced knowledge of astronomy and knew about Sirius B when is why the three great pyramids of Giza are lined up perfectly with the Orion star constellation. They made their map face south towards Sirius. The three pyramids of Giza were originally built by Adafa with the help of extraterrestrial beings. Adafa was in tune with the celestial beings that originally erected the pyramids. They are visitors from other galaxies. One of the great pyramids was built to preserve all of his friends' texts during the period of the flood. The Giza pyramids today were reconstructed by the pharaoh Khufu, also known as Seoth, and his son Khafre and Menkaure. Khufu reigned for 23 years and had many sons and daughters. Khufu, he sponsored several building projects, and monuments bearing his name can be seen all over Egypt. Khufu also sent mining expeditions to Sinai, Nubia, and the Arabian deserts for their mineral wealth. In later times, Khufu's name was engraved on scarabs. The most famous of these are related in the West Car Paras. Khufu was an able and energetic ruler during whose reign the land, page 313, figure 111, Dogon Imams, page 314, figure 112, the three Giza pyramids flourished and the art reached perfection. Khufu left the land in such a stable economic position as to enable his son Khafre to reconstruct the second pyramid, a monument almost as colossal as that of his father. Khufu was responsible for only one accomplishment of magnitude, yet the size of the one is so gigantic that it overshadows all his father's military and trading exploit, and has brought Khufu's name and fame down diminished through thousands of years. So much has been written about the Great Pyramid of Giza. Not only is it the largest monument of its kind, but it is the result of excellent workmanship, accurate planning, and proportionate beauty. The Great Pyramid has four major internal features: the underground chambers, the Queen's Chamber, the Grand Gallery, and the King's Chamber. The King's Chamber is made from Aswan granite. There's an entrance to a 2 times 18-inch shaft north from the king's chamber, and a southern shaft both extends through from the outer casing of the pyramid. And there's a northern shaft from the queen's chamber, which does not reach the outer casing. It's closed at both ends. The pyramid form has a certain austere beauty, and the tawny gold of the stone is capable of bewitching, and there are subtle variations in the color as the sunlight changes. The complex of the Great Pyramid has a valley temple that is even today almost completely untouched. Built of limestone, the work and skill almost equals that of the pyramid itself. It is adorned with statues, sculptures, and reliefs. The Great Pyramid itself stands 137 meters high at present. Originally, it stood 146.59 meters, including the casing. The Great Pyramid is estimated to consist of 2,600,000 stone blocks, averaging 2.5 tons each. Some even weigh as much as 15 tons. The weight of the pyramid is so great that it had to be built with riveting chambers designed to take the weight of the pyramid's upper portion off the roof of the burial chamber. The greatest thing about the Great Pyramid is it is the first and last of its kind. No other pyramid before or after it has matched it in size, beauty, nor magnificence. The shafts originally pointed at something in the heavens. The position of the stars today is not the same as is in the time of the ancient Egyptians precession. Due to precession, the angle of the southern shaft of the king's chamber is 45 degrees. The shaft lined up perfectly with Orion's belt. There was one Egyptian statue that stood erect, and there's only one constellation of an erect man, and that is the Orion's constellation. The identity between a deceased pharaoh and the deity Osiris made Orion immediately a candidate. Page 316, diagram 24, orientation of the four shafts in the Great Grand Pyramid. Page 317, diagram 25, the confederation of the mathematicians of the Great Pyramid. Page 318, diagram 26, cross-selection of the Great Pyramids, showing chambers, passageways, and shafts. Page 319, diagram 27, the horizon of Khufu, i.e. the Great Pyramid. Page 320, diagram 28, the astrogeometry of the shafts and chambers inside the Great Pyramid, with the upper culminations position of the stars. Page 321, Diagram 29, internal layouts of upper chambers of the Great Pyramid and their associated shafts. Page 322, Diagram 30, the internal features of the Great Pyramid. Page 323, Diagram 31, position of the Giza pyramids in relations to the stars of the Orion's belt. For a shaft, those purpose was to enable the soul of the pharaoh to communicate between earth and the sky. The shaft in the Malukika's chamber pointed to Sirius, a star in the Canis Major constellation. Radafi, Khufu's immediate successor, built his pyramid at Abu Wash, about 5 miles north of his father's pyramid at Giza. Because he did not agree with the way his father ran the kingdom, he chose this distant, lonely site, high on a lofty spur of the plateau. Another son of Khufu, Khafre, succeeded Radafi, Difi, who reigned for only 8 years. He reconstructed the second pyramid at Giza, which has the most preserved complex of Giza field. Its valley temple is so close to the Sphinx that it was at one time known as the Temple of the Sphinx. The valley temple is built around a core of massive blocks of local limestone covered with finely polished red granite. Alabaster was used for the floor of the building, as well as the walls of some of the smaller rooms. Flanking the mortuary temple are 5 rocks cut boat pits. Most of the casting has worn away, but that which remains retains such a high polish that it reflects the moon at shadow hours. It attained a height of 43.5 meters with a slope of 53%, 10 inches. Khafre's son and successor was Menkaure, also called Menkaure, the third pyramid at Giza. Though smaller, was set off by the granite casing covering the lower 16 courses. However, before the casing of the pyramid could be completed, Menkaure died, and his successor, Shepsepra, finished the monument. He built the complex of mud brick and didn't bother to build a large pyramid for himself. One of the splendid burial chambers is built with red granite walls and roof. The vaulted ceiling was made by first erecting a pointed roof and then hollowing out the slabs to make them concave. In this room was the king's beautiful basalt sarcophagus. It had the typical palace facade, paneling, and was no doubt contemporary with the pyramid. The real splendor of the complex of the third pyramid is the mortuary temple. The core masonry is of huge blocks of local limestone, which were originally lined with granite on the outside. The western side of the court originally had red granite pillars. On this end was the sanctuary, or offering shrine, built against the face of the pyramid. It was paved with red granite. One of the corridors in the northern end of the temple has walls of black granite. The parent pyramid stood at a height of 66.5 meters, the base being 108.5 meters square at a slope of 51%. Shepseskaf, the last of the pharaohs, after Menkaure completed his father's tomb. Figure 113, page 325. Khafre, son of Khufu. Page 326, figure 114, Menkaure, son of Khufu. Once again, the trend for building tombs changed. Choosing a site between Zosir, Step Pyramid, and the pyramids of Nufaru, the father of Khufu, Shepseskaf's tomb differed completely from any monument preceding it. It is neither a mastaba nor a pyramid. It stands 100 times 72 meters and stands 18 meters high. It is merely called a sarcophagus. All these pyramids align perfectly with the three stars of the Orion constellation, which was directly above Sirius. The shaft in the Queen's Chamber pointed to Sirius. The position of the three pyramids and their relations to the Nile is the same as the three stars of Orion's belt in relations to the Milky Way. The constellations of the Great Dog lies just below Orion, and a little to the left of it. Canis Major is also known as the Dog of Orion, and its constellation pictogram fairly represents a dog, with Sirius, the brightest star in the heavens, on the dog collar. It should be easy to find. The brightest stars are of zero magnitude, and as the magnitude numbers increase, the stars get fainter. Thus, a star of magnitude of 4 is less than a star of the second magnitude. First magnitude stars are very bright. Sirius is also called Dog Star. Yet another of its name is Nile Star, and it refers to this time 5,000 years ago when ancient Egyptians worshipped it. We're approaching the hour in the live. As recorded in the 114 scrolls of Ahmad, the 53rd degree, the 49th verse, it reads, And surely he, Yahweh, is the Ra'ab of the El Shira Sirius. This is the very star you Arabs worship. Each year when the dog star rose just before the hot morning sun and was visible for a little while at dawn, the imams knew that the Niles would soon overflow and that they would see the Milky Way arching sky across the sky. This they knew was the celestial Nile. The Nile would overflow and spread the life-giving water on the waiting crops which had been planted on the riverbanks. The flooding of the Nile coincided with reappearance of Orion, the deity Ysir, whom the Greeks called Osiris, represented Orion, and to the left of him was the star Sirius, which represented Set, also called Isis, and together they would light the skies by shadow hour. Giant temples were built for them, with their corridors oriented towards the point where the dog star would rise, as the golden city was Wahans and Kadash, which is built to them in this day and time in Egypt of the west. So this was the ancient Egyptian name for the Sirius as it was spelt by the Greeks. Sirius was the most important star in the sky. To the ancient Egyptians, the Egyptians had a Sapphic calendar. The ancient Egyptians' calendar year consisting of 365 one-fourth days. A cycle consisting of 1,460 years of 365 days in the ancient Egyptian calendar, and the first appearance of Sirius on the eastern page 328, figure 115, the three pyramids in Egypt. Page 329, figure 116, Radafi, son of Khufu. Page 330, figure 117, Shepseskef, son of Khufu. Page 331, figure 118, shaft in the east wall of the Queen's chamber. Page 332, figure 119, the empty sarcophagus in the King's chamber. Horizon just before the sun. After 70 days in the Duat, the underworld, the Egyptian name for the underworld, was what is called the heliacal rising of Sirius, which is seen as Sirius and the sun joined together at the moment. This event occurred once a year and gave rise to the Sapphic calendar, the ancient Egyptian calendar year consisting of 365 and a fourth day. The Hellenical rising of Sirius was so important to the ancient Egyptians that gigantic temples were constructed with their main aisles, passageways, oriented precisely towards the spot on the horizon where Sirius would appear on the expected daylight hours, as with us Nubians Moors today. The light of Sirius would be channeled along the corridor to flood the altar in the inner sanctum as if a pinpointed spotlight had been switched on. One such temple to the star Sirius was the Temple of Set at Denera. Usir, as the husband of Aset, was identified with the constellation of Orion. Nephthys, the sister of Aset, represented Sirius B, the dark companion star that is described as a circle around Sirius. Anubu, whom the Greeks called Anubis, the son of Nephthys, and Usir represented Sirius C. The Egyptians wanted to build a heaven on earth. Thy kingdom come on earth as it is in Orion, heaven, and we have done the same. When a pharaoh died, he was mummified, then encased in an outer shell, like what was done by Aset, who is called Aset by the Greeks, to the deceased body of Usir, who is called by the Greeks Usir. One of the great ascension rituals is the opening of the mouth ceremony. When a pharaoh is dead, his consort and his still mortal son must cause new life to stir in him. At the exact moment of the early rising of Orion, the pharaoh must be reborn as an Elohim. You are taught that the word pharaoh means great house, from the Latin word phara, from the Greek pharaoh, from the Hebrew pharaoh, from the Egyptian pharaoh, par meaning house, and o meaning great. However, this word comes from the word pharaoh, which comes from the root word far. The word "phar" comes from the Latin "pharos", from the Greek "pharos" meaning lighthouse. Pharos is a former island in the Bay of Alexandria, Egypt, famous in ancient times for its lighthouse. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary defines Pharaoh as the sun. Pharaoh's being in Egypt shows us that the light of the sun of righteousness is veiled by our life on the lower or sense plane. So the word Pharaoh does not mean great house, it means lighthouse. The son and the wife performs the ceremony with anaz. The pharaoh is standing upright. The son takes the Az or the Adz, which is shaped by the northern constellation, and strikes open the mouth of the pharaoh, and takes another tool and plunges the air and opens the mouth. The mouth is open, the air goes in, and the pharaoh is alive again. He is reborn for the sky. Rebirth and new life were very important to the Egyptians, and they were also required to have sexual. Page 334, opening of the mouth ceremony. Page 335, diagram 32, constellation of Orion. Page 336, diagram 33, the heliacal rising of Orion's belt and the 26.5-degree alignment. Page 337, diagram 34, the stellar landscape showing Osiris Orion and the shaft of the Great Pyramid pointing to his belt. Page 338, diagram 35, shaft of the Great Pyramid points to Orion. Page 339, diagram 36, constant shafting of Orion. Page 340, diagram 37, analysis of the Giza layout. Page 341, 1. Diagram 438, Canis Major Sirius constellation. Potency to enable them to recopulate with the deities. Each had many wives and hundreds of children from the breeding of gods on earth. The next thing that would happen is they would have turned the mummy to the south in alignment with the southern shaft and attached an erected phallus to his mummified body, and his duty before departing into the afterworld was to seed the womb, symbolic of the womb of a Set, and the birth of Horus. Those that don't know say that the Dargons got their information on Sirius from the Egyptians. However, according to the Dagons, they got their knowledge from travelers from beyond the stars who traveled from a planet attached to Sirius B and who landed on Earth and bred with them. As a matter of fact, the Dagons were the descendants from the Egyptians. These travelers from beyond the stars that came and bred with the Dagons were the reptilians. These reptilians came from Sirius B. They traveled to Earth once their sun or star Sirius B collapsed, becoming a very dense star, also known as a white dwarf. When the planet-sized ship called Procyon, a binary star in the constellation Canis Major, which is the Greek name for Nibiru, meaning planet which crosses the sky, or the planet of the crossing, passed by Sirius B. They traveled to Earth once their sun or star Sirius B collapsed, becoming a very dense star, also known as the white dwarf. And when the planet-sized ship called Procyon, a binary star in the constellation Canis Major, which is the Greek name for Nibiru, meaning the planet which crosses the sky, or the planet of the crossing, passed by Sirius B. Its presence drained the energy from the sun, and it caused this great star Sirius B to collapse. Sirius B had two planets. The Nerians, Greys, were on one planet, and the Numos, Reptilians, were on the other. Both planets rotated around Sirius B. So when their sun died, the inhabitants of Sirius followed Nibiru through the Milky Way, one chasing the other. They took residence on Earth in a country now called Mali, which is where the Dogon lived. The reptilians have been breeding and living with humans for centuries. They are humanoids in shape and reptilian in heritage. Their leaders are the Draconians. They are from Draco, a constellation in the polar region of the northern hemisphere near Cephas and Ursa Major, also called the Dragon. The reptilians stand from 8 feet down to 6 feet in height, with dark green scaly skin. Their leader is Hatan. Hatan is the reptilian who defected from the reptilian while on Earth and reformed to fight against the reptilians on behalf of humans. He is the commander of the Ishtar Command. There are 16 different kinds of reptilians seen these days by abductees. There is a type of species of reptilians called gargoyles that have special wings, which are flaps of skin supported by long ribs of dracona. Some reptilians can either lay eggs or bear larvae, and some of them are of the natural gender and reproduce like lizards. The male rep species nurtures the eggs, and the female just lays them. Page 343, figure 121, the leader, Hamsma. Figure page 344, the winged gargoyle. These beings are also known as the dragon race, or the whiptail lizards, and the symbology usually includes the winged serpent. There are elements of their species which do not have wings. The soldier class and the scientists, the Nerians and the Macabians, are really a crossbreed between human greys and reptilian species. There are several other lines of crossbreeds between humans and reptilian species that have specific characteristics, such as the Rumarians, who are being used as slaves by the reptilians. They are under close surveillance by the reptilians, who have them in such a state that they depend totally upon the reptilians for their reproduction and food absorptions. The same way Negroids in this world are slowly but surely becoming dependent upon the Caucasoids. As you can see, the Europeans and his Euro-Arab and Euro-Asian and Euro-American have made it a part of their way of life to invade foreign countries, trample their ways, customs, and traditions, take control of people's minds and lives, enslave people, manipulate people, and even use them against their own people. Then their tactics is religion or other powerful organizations. This is the same tactic that was used against the Roumarians and reptilians. The beings from Andromeda who worked alongside with the reptilians also came and captured the Roumarians and started breeding their own race of greys, which is turn led to a breed of mean, vicious, bug-eyed beings called the Maccabeans. The Ramardians were once used by the Anunnakis and are highly intelligent. However, they begin to die off. There are 70 different species of greys. Only 8 of them are still coming to this planet. There are 3 kinds of greys. The Maccabeans from the Zedebucalians, who are about 4 to 5 feet tall, a gray mixture of greys and reptilians, and those from Bellatrix, also a star in the Orion system, that are about 3 to 5 feet tall, and other species of Orion greys that range in height from 6 to 9 feet tall. The reptilian beings didn't have the Dracon best interest. They just used them. They lived in water, and during the shadow hours they returned to the waters and came on land to teach and mix with the Dracon. The Nubians and Dragons referred to them as dog-gear, or plural dogri, meaning ugly water beings. The Dogons speak and teach what they have been taught by the dogri today. They have knowledge about the universe, star formations, and constellations without the aid of telescopes. The maps that these Dogons have are so accurate that they match modern maps of today. If you look up at the sky, the brightest star you can see is Sirius. Venus, which is originally called Lam Lam Hu, and Jupiter, which is originally called Kishar, are often brighter, but page 346, figure 123, the beings from Andromeda. Page 347, the dinosaur man, figure 124, the bug-eyed beings. Page 348, the Badu ceremony. Page 348A, figure 126, Amma, the father of your guru, and Namos. Page 349, diagram 39, Andromeda constellation. They are not stars. They are planets going around our own sun, which is a star itself. No astronomer will tell you there is any particular reason for intelligent life to be in the area of Sirius. The reason Sirius is so bright is because it's large and closed and bigger than the sun and bigger than the handful of other nearby stars. About the middle of the last century, an astronomer was looking rather hard at Sirius over a period of time and got annoyed because it wasn't sitting still. It was wobbling. He had a difficult time figuring this out, but he finally concluded that an extremely heavy and massive star that was going around Sirius, which could make it wobble that way. The only trouble was that there wasn't any large star going around Sirius. Instead, there turned out to be a tiny little thing going around it every 50 years. And so Sirius came to be called Sirius A, and the little thing became Sirius B. And Sirius B was, at that time, unique in the universe as far as anyone knew. Over 1,000 or 100 of these things have now been actually seen scattered around the sky. And there are many thousand more which we cannot see, even though our modern telescopes, because they are so tiny and their light is so feeble, they are called white dwarfs. White dwarfs are small white stars with a large amount of mineral packed into an extremely small space. White dwarfs are strange because although they are feeble, they are strong. They do not give out much light, but they are powerful gravitationally. And a white dwarf, we would not even be a fraction of an inch high. We would be flat, pulled in by gravity. The star that was necessary to make Sirius A wobble was a little thing, but it still had to be a massive and heavy as an ordinary star, but of much more enormous size. It is In short, a star so dense and closely packed that it is not even made out of regular matter. It is made out of what is called degenerate matter or super dense matter, where the atoms are pressed together and the electrons squashed. This matter is so heavy that it cannot be thought of in any familiar terms. The Dogons believe that the most important star in the sky is Sirius B, which cannot be seen. They call this tiny star Bo Tolo. Tolo meaning star, and Po is a cereal grain, commonly called faniel in West Africa. To the Dogon, this tiny grain represents the tiny star, and the star is called Po, after the grain. The Dogon also says that Sirius B rotates on its axis as well as its movement in space. Digitaria, which is another name for Sirius B, also revolves upon itself over the period of 1 year, and this revolution is honored during the celebration of the Bodu rite that occurs every 60 years, called a Segua Guy, which happens when Sirius B, page 351, diagram 40, the calculation of the Sagaias, completes its rotation around Sirius A and rotates on its own axis around itself. This is something that all stars do. On April 23rd, 1994 AD, the stars Sirius A and Sirius B crisscross in front of each other, which happens every 9,000 years. Energies were shot down to the planet Earth to rejuvenate the Dogon. Sirius B is composed of a special kind of material which is called sagala, from a root meaning strong, and this material does not exist on the earth. This material is heavier than all of the iron on earth. Sirius B is made of super dense matter of a kind which exists nowhere on earth. All this forms the most sacred and most secret traditions known to the Dogon, the basis of their religion and of their lives. The Dogon also say that there is a third star in the Sirius system, which they call the Emi Ya star, which they compare to the Dajarateria. They say that it is 4 times as light in weight and travels along a greater trajectory in the same direction. They say the Emi Ya itself is the son of women, a little son. The Dogon have knowledge that the planet revolves around the sun. The planets are called Tolo Tanazi, meaning stars that turn around something. The Dogon refer to our solar system as Ogul's placenta, whereas the system of the star Sirius and its comparison star and satellites is referred to as Nomos placenta. Nomos is the collective name for the great culture and founder of civilization who came from the Sirius system to set up society on the earth. The Dogon have recorded this information given by the Nomo long ago. Nomo is an individual and Nomo is the plural. The Momos were amphibious, vicious creatures known as the reptilians. The name Nomos means the matters of the water, the masters of the waters, also called instructor or the monitors. The Nomos have to live in the water. The Nomos seat is in the water. The landing of Nomos on our earth is called the Day of the Fish, and the planet he came from is the Sirius system, which is known as the pure earth of the Day of the Fish. The Nomos landed in an ark. The ark landed on the earth to the northeast of Dogon country, which is the direction of Egypt and the Middle East, where the Dogon claimed to have come from originally before going to Mandi. The Dogon described the landing of the ark as the word of Namu, which was cast down by him in the four directions as he descended. And it sounded like the echoing of the four large stone blocks being struck with stones by the children. It was a thundering, vibrating sound. The ark landed on the fox's dry land and displaced a pile of dust raised by the whirlwind it caused. The violence of the impact. Figure 127, Nomos, son of Amaz, page 353. Page 354, figure 128, Nikita's female twin of Urugu. Page 355, figure 129, Urugu, son of Amma. Page 356, diagram 41, modern astronomical data of the orbit of Sirius. Page 357, diagram 42, Dogon drawings of Sirius system. Page 358, diagram 43, Dogon symbol of Nomomo. Page 359, diagram 44, Dogon drawings of Nomomo. Page 360, the whirling descendant of the spaceships of Namomos. Page 361, diagram 46, descendant of Nomomos from the sky. Roughed the ground. It skid on the ground. The Nomomos is said to be the monitor for the universe, the father of mankind, guardian of its spiritual principles, dispenser of rain and master of the water. Not all the Nomos came to the earth. The one called Nomos died, or the great Nomos remained in the skies or heavens with Amma, and he is his Bakar. He manifests himself in the rainbow, which is called Path of the Nomos. He is the guardian of the spiritual principles of living creatures on earth. There are three other distinct kinds of Nomos, each personified as an individual. There is the Nomos Tatiani, messenger, or deputy of the Nomos Dai, and he executes the latter's great works. The Nomos who came to Earth in the spaceship are of this class. The third class of Nomomos are represented by old Nomomo of the pond. He will be sacrificed for the purification and reorganization of the universe. He will come in human form and descend on earth in an ark with the ancestors of men. Then he will take on his original form to rule over the waters and give birth to many descendants. The fourth Noromo is the naughty disruptor named Ogo or Nomo Anagono. He was about to be finished being created, but he rebelled against his creator and introduced disorder into the universe. Eventually, he will become the pale fox, which is the image of his fall. In many ways, the fox resembles the Egyptian deity Set. The Dogons believe that the original germ of life is symbolized by the smallest cultivated seed, the Tarius excelsis, commonly known as Fanio, meaning little, and also called by the Dogon Kizazuli the little things. This seed, quickened by an internal vibration, bursts the enveloping sheath or skin and emerges to reach the uttermost confines of the universe. At the same time, this is unfolding matter which moves along a path which forms a spiral or helix, just as the vegetal plane, which is the plane of growth. Seven seeds came out of the Dexteria Stelias seed first. So in the same way as it's done on the astral plane. From the first star came seven other bearings, the names of the seven corresponding seeds. The preceding events took place inside an enormous egg, a Duno, Tal, a world situated in infinite space and containing the appointed model of the creation, Namos, the son of Ammon. This egg was divided into two twin placentas, each of which should have contained a pair of twin Namod. In one placenta, however, the male person did not await the usual period of gestation appointed by Amma, but emerged prematurely from the egg. Moreover, he tore a fragment from his placenta, and with it came down through a space outside the egg. This fragment became the earth. Page 363, diagram 47, Orion of the spiral of creation. Page 364, the diagram 48, the symbolism of the stereo. Page 365, diagram 49, the star, the staria. Page 366, diagram 50, the Sargon female system. Page 367, diagram 51, the course of the stars. Page 368, diagram 52, the trajectory of the star, the Storia around Sirius. This being Urugu thought the Fanio with him, intending to make a world of his own. There we go again. This irregular procedure at the onset disorganized Amma's order of creation. From this imperfection arose the notion of impurity. Earth and Uruga were, from the beginning, solitary and impure. Urugu realized that this situation would eventually prevent him from carrying on Earth. He returned to heaven to try and find the rest of his placenta with his twin soul. But at his revolt, Amma had handed over this twin soul, Nukita, to the remaining pair in the other part of the egg, and he had put her in their charge. Urugu could not intervene Nukita. From that time, he has been engaged in a perpetual and fruitless search for her. He returned to the dry earth, where now there began in the darkness to come into existence single, incomplete beings, offspring of incest. In fact, he procreated in his own placenta in the earth, that is, with his mother. Seeing this, Amma decided to send to earth the namu of the other half of the egg. They came down to earth on a gigantic ark, at the center of which stood by two nobles of the sky, who had assumed the guise of human blacksmiths. At the four cardinal points were four other parts of nomos, avatars of the first and the ancestors of man. The four male ancestors were named Ama, Saru, Libi, Saru, Binu, Siru, and Diagangu, Siru. Every 60 years, the Dagon hold a ceremony called Sigigu ceremony. Its purpose is the reunification of the world. When it is time for the Sigu, the elders of the Tanatono shelter at Yagua draw a symbol on the rock with red artray, which is any of several earthly mineral oxides of iron occurring in yellow, brown, or red, and it's used as pigments, which represents a Kanaga mask. This in turn represents the deity Amma. A hole is made in the ground below it, symbolizing the Sagaru, and thus Amma is in the egg of the world. The hole is also interpreted as the hole which must be dug to put seeds in. From this viewpoint, the holes are arranged in series of threes, connoting three sigayas placed beneath the sign of three seeds after which they are named. Thus, the Sagai at the beginning of this ceremony century, this century was called Imi Sigi, the sorghum Sagai. The next one will be called Ju Sigi, the millet Sagai. The one after new Sagai, the haricot Sagai. Okay, so there is other free figures painted on the facade of the sanctuaries, which reveals rather more specific data. It is called Sigi Lugi, meaning calculations of the Sugai, and consists of a line of vertical chevrons, which is a badge of rule, the notches of which are painted alternately black, red, and white, which are the secret colors. Each color corresponds to a seed, the first two millet, the plant, and grass. Page 370. Second to the haricot, the pod or seed. The third to sorghum, the grain. The Dogon act as understudies for other more complex practices and knowledge to do with the serious system. The Dogon names for this star: Sigi Tolo, meaning star of the Simis, or YASIGITOLO, comma, star of YASIGUI, comma, indicates its relation with the ceremony of the renovation of the world, which takes place every 60 years. From where you get your 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. Sirius, however, is not the basis of the system. It is one of the phases, or the focus of the orbit of the tiny star called Digartaria, Tolo, or star of the Yourugou, comma, Yurugutolo, period. The orbit described by Digitaria around Sirius is perpendicular to the horizon and this position is allured to in one of the most common ceremonies when Digitaria is close to Sirius. The latter becomes brighter. When it is at its most distance from Sirius, Digitaria gives off a twinkling effect, suggesting several stars to the observer. This trajectory symbolizes excursions and circumcisions, an operation which is represented by the closest and furthest passage of Digitaria to Sirius. The left part of the oval is the foreskin or clitoris. The right part is the knife, a horizontal figure rests on a vertical axis which connects two circles, Sirius and Digitaria. The center of the figure is a circle T, which represents the trajectory of Digitaria. The line E is the penis, the hook B, the foreskin. There are two horns hinged on the circle and reproduce once again the two parts of the trajectory, the knife and the foreskin. Thus, the Sirius system is associated with the practices of renovating people. The period of the orbit is counted double, that is 100 years, because the Sirius are convened in pairs of twins, so as to insist on the basic principles of twinness. It is for this reason that the trajectory is called MON.5, from the money root money, to reunite. Digitaria is represented in Wazuba either by a dot or by a sac surrounding a concentric circle of 10 dots, which are the 8 ancestral nomus and the initial couple of nomus. During the Badu ceremony, the oldest woman of the family draws at the entrance of the house the pattern of a NYANADUNOTONU, meaning world of women, or the pattern of the ADUNODALEDONULETONU, meaning top and bottom of the world. The KANAGA sign is similar to the symbol that represents the Pisces sign. The constellation was named Gemini Pisces by the Romans because there are two fish. The western fish heads northward toward Andromeda, a constellation in the northern hemisphere between Lacerta and Perseus, and south of Cassiopeia, and the eastern fishback in the direction of Aquarius, a constellation in the equatorial region of the southern hemisphere near Pisces and Aquila, also called water barrier. When the energy field on Rix was page 371, starting to increase, and the whole was starting to lose its color, the Viscorians had to abort their planet and go to Orion. They had to get closer to the Milky Way, so they moved to LAHMU called Mars, where they set up a commune of laboratories inclusive. They also went to MASHSIG, today called Pluto. The beings of Zeta Reticuli who lived in Orion didn't want the Resquarians to live there because they were taking over. They objected to the power structure made by the Resquarians. However, they didn't bother them because of the denier. The Resquarians aborted Mars and went to the planet Earth because of better conditions. Better living conditions. Some went to Aldebaran, a double star in the constellation Taurus, 68 light years from Earth and one of the brightest stars in the skies. Arcturus, the fourth brightest star in the sky and the brightest star in the constellation Bootes, approximately 36 light years from Earth, and Pleiades, an open star cluster in the constellation Taurus, consisting of several hundred stars, of which 6 are visible to the naked eye. However, they were at war with the beings from Andromeda, Ridquel, a bright double star in the constellation Orion, and Aldebaran, and they took control of these star systems from the Resquarians and all their technology. These beings from Andromeda, Regal, and Aldebaran attacked and defeated the Resquarians that were there because they were not warriors. They were colonizing to prepare a place for the beings from Elewanian until their system could be mended. Both of these star systems were there long before the Noric Iranian beings came there. These Iranian beings called themselves Palladians, deceptives as they are. They to this date are influencing the minds of humans. Their link on Earth in latter time was to the Third Reich under a demon referred as Adolf Hitler, who was influenced by the 80th of the 200 fallen angelic beings, whose names being Hitler. A disagreeable being who seeks to rule the planet by defected albino leprous beings. A woman named Madame Blavatsky, who was born under the name Helena Petrovna von Hahn, branched off and headed the Theosophical Society. She was a well-known witch. 2 witches who were also psychics, named Maria Ostish and Zegrum, the Thuo Society, and Madame Blavatsky came together and selected Adolf Hitler in the year of 1913 AD to be their contactee or man on this planet Earth. They were contacted by the beings called the Ashtar Command from the Pleiades and the Aldebaran constellations. The Ashtar Command are among many entities that came to Earth and have been circling above the Earth for the most part invisible to the naked eye since the early 1950s of the Gregorian calendar. They, the Ashtar Command, were humanoid and have less water in their bodies and are pasty in appearance. In the year 1952 AD of the Gregorian calendar, crabs were logged as being seen over the White House in Washington, D.C., USA. there was a meeting held, and the Ashtar Command met with the late President Dwight David Eisenhower, at which time America was asked to lay down their arms. However, beings from the planet Venus commander Valiant Thor, also called Thor, and his crew members Don, Tanaya, and Jill was present at this meeting also, and said, "Don't trust the people from Aldebaran." These beings from Aldebaran became highly insulted after they were labeled untrustworthy. They went back in time and had a meeting of psychics with the Dual Society that led to what is called the Third Reich, whose power still rules the world today. Hitler held the super race with great reverence and respect. These beings have light blonde hair and blue eyes. They are originally bred by gene transplants, or which is called embryo implantation, or what is called implantation. These beings from Albarians gave Hitler a lot of technology and flying saucers, which Hitler took out to Antarctica, a continent laying chiefly within the Antarctic Circle and asymmetrically centered at the South Pole. They were responsible for their technology. 3:29 p.m. on my alarm. Are you looking for steady support? They were responsible for the technology and plans for a superior race. Hitler was actually breeding a superior race for the extraterrestrials. This group of Aldebaran is also responsible for your neutrinoid race. They forge visitations to hide their links from Billy Muir of Switzerland to the Third Reich and Zionist ties under a Zionist named Claude Volleyhan, born in Vichy, France on September 30th in the year 1946 AD, who calls himself Wa-Al. A good eye sees it's simply lacking the is for ISIS, which would make it Israel, where this individual, Claude Valerhan, who chose to call himself David, the name of the real Messiah, would set his embassy in the state of Israel. Make note that when the prophecies of the Messiah is recorded in Psalms 89:20 and Jeremiah 30:9, in both cases the Aramaic word dewed, meaning beloved, which stems from the root word dude. In the Ashuric, you find duwad also means 3:31 p.m. on my alarm. Are you ready to experiment with new emotions? Which comes from the root wadua. Again, in deception, Claude calls himself David to imply he is the Savior. He is linked to Claude Doggins, born in Sulphur Springs, Oklahoma, of the Brotherhood of the White Temple, who calls himself Duwil. Again, you see the name Dar el. Duwil's teachings was identified as the wisdom of the ancients, resembled those of other theosophically derived wisdom schools, and organizations. The name the Brotherhood of the White Temple was used prior to Durrell by Annie Besant, who was successor to Madame Blavatsky. Durrell says he had previously visited the colonies beside of Mount Saska, but the visits were ancestral or astral, not physical. In 1931 AD, he was invited to visit the Atlantean colony in the flesh. He was lecturing in Los Angeles when two audience members identified themselves as colonists, which Figure 373, Figure 130, Maurice Doggins Durrell. Page 374, Figure 131, symbol of Durrell's organization. Page 375 is an original settler or founder of a colony. Oh, wow. Of a colony. They invited him to visit their colonies at Mount Shasta that day. He was taken down into caverns beneath the earth. Durrell says he had personal contact with the Suwanese dineros, the symbol being the six-pointed star, and the Sawaska, the movement called Raelians movement, under a French Jew. The symbol has taken many forms, having the same root in deception of the Aryan race, and it can be found today as Ku Klux Klan or the White Brotherhood, breeding groups as the Aryan nations, the skinheads, the white supremacists, which will eventually turn on the government, the Aryan race, as they call themselves, whose image they worship, as being blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pale-skinned war superiors, whose Ra'el claims that the original fathers, who he calls Elohims, which is of course a Jewish or Hebrew word for gods, came from very far away, as he puts it. Later it simply became Pleiades, the grand deception by the beings of the Andromeda, an insect-type being that the late President Dwight David Eisenhower could not stomach, for they are the High Council and advisors to these cloned Iranian Palladians, who they yield an alphabet that begin with Aleph, Bir, Seth, Dilef, which is simply a form of Yiddish used by modern Jews, and they call it Hebraic. As you can see, it originally came from the form of Kabbalistic script, saying their planet is Pleiades, is era, and phonetic, that is self-explanatory in era of Hebraic from Hebrew. The deception of these German Jews, whose God is Hitler, called Adolf Hitler, is in place and is spreading amongst the disagreeable Nordic of this planet. This is in hopes to find a place in the universe amongst the star people where they are not welcomed. All races on this planet have had extraterrestrial involvements, from the Sumerians to the Aztecs, the Hopi, the Originians to the Egyptians, to the original Nubian Hebrews, the Christians and Muslims, in the form of prophets or angels, as they say. However, none has come to the cursed seed of Canaan. To the Aryan there has been none. So they create theirs, such as Nostradamus, Edgar Cayce, and Jean Dixon, who all have been proven to be incorrect in their prophecies, but they will seek to kill any Negroid who appears to have the ability to lead. They are known to be killers of the Negroid prophets and leaders, so they chose to distort the history of the Dagons. They seek to fit themselves in a history far greater than theirs. So they say they are from Pleiades, and there are some amongst them who claim to be different descendants of extraterrestrials or direct descendants of prophets, such as Claude Van who, page 376. I'm going to end this live and we'll come back up on 376.